I've had a lot of personal electronics over the years. For context, I'm an older Zoomer. Like I mentioned in the past, I was born 3 days late to being a millennial. Anyway, growing up, I still had some personal electronics. They were more easily taken away by my parents if I was misbehaving or anything like that. But none of them were as stimulating or impressive as an iPad is. And frankly, I was ahead of the curve in some on some fronts. So, yeah, early elementary school, I had a Game Boy Advance, though it was by the it was second grade when the DS I was in second grade when the DS came out, the original one. But that was back when Nintendo was trying to do a third pillar, like have the DS be its own thing in addition to the Game Boy lines with the Game Boy Advance and the home consoles with the GameCube at the time, and then later the Wii. But yeah, around that time I had a Game Boy Advance that I shared with my brother and to a lesser extent my sister. It's not like today where every single little kid in the family is given their own iPad as soon as they are able to hold it or hold on to one of those kid friendly cases. No, I had that and I would get a turn sometimes, and I'd have my own game collection, then my brother would have his game collection, and we'd use it as available. Yeah, we got a DS when the DS Lite came out, and I think we got another one at one point, and that's when we started being able to use our own devices. We also had these things called iRivers, which I didn't personally have, but I got to use for long car trips and such. So I got to watch movies and shows before. It was cool to have it in your pocket. Well, I never really kept it in my pocket because when we got to where we went, we had them stashed in the out of sight within the car. So there's that. That's why I really wouldn't count them as personal electronics for me personally. It really wasn't until summer of 2009 when I got my first DSi that I actually had an electronic all to myself. Like, I had to confirm with my dad that it was all mine to do with as I saw fit and not have to share it with either of my siblings. Well, they still had the DS lights because I remember we had a red and black one and a white one. I think we still held on to the GBA that was occasionally used. Yeah, it's with the DSi that started taking photos and such that I would get more into with my 3DS. God, I should have developed the photography hobby a little more, but I didn't really want to use the professional camera as and such. It was just fun to use the DSi and then later the 3DS camera, which leads me into the first one that I bought with my own money, the 3DS. Oh, and in between, I was given an iPod Touch to keep because by then I guess I'd proven more responsible with these kinds of devices compared to what was it? Compared to before then when I'd only get them for car trips and such, like long road trips up to New Hampshire and Maine. Oh wait, no, before that I had an iPod that I watched the Simpsons movie on so many times in 5th grade. And then I got an iPod Nano in 7th grade. It was one of those ones that could take only videos. It was pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. My DSi was good for recording photos, for taking photos. So I had one for photos and one for videos. Yeah, one for photos and games, and one for videos and, well, recording videos and watching videos and listening to stuff. And then, March of 2011, I bought my first 3DS with my own money after saving up. I was able to get that and 4 game cartridges, but the AR stuff was really cool on its own, not to mention being able to take 3D photos and then with the software update later, videos. That was really cool to me. Like I have tons of photos of my pets and other things I would take photos of. Which is a habit I still do to this day, believe it or not. Like when I see something interesting from when I'm walking from either the instant gratification job to the supermarket or from here to therapy. Like in the last month or so, I've actually seen some ducks roaming around in watery areas that I was able to get some photos of, which is why I really like my current phone camera because it can zoom in really close. Anyway, I'd use that 3DS to play my games. Oh, I also had a flip phone, so by the end of middle school, I had a cell phone, an iPod Touch, and a 3DS. The iPod Touch and the cell phone were supplied by my parents. I really wanted an iPhone, but I guess I wasn't ready for unfettered internet access like that. I think I talked more about that in my children's access to the internet should be limited video. Although I did have the DSi internet browser back in 2010 before I got my first iPod Touch. Anyway, throughout high school, I had my 3DS, iPod Touch, and my flip phone, and that's how it was until Pokemon Go came out. I got my very first iPhone at the ripe old age of 19. Compared to my peers who got their first iPhones or Androids as early as 14 or 15. But hey, I had a lot of fun with the 3DS camera and the novelty of taking photos and videos in 3D, even though they're terrible resolution. And the copies I have now in my personal files, I can't use those in, I can't view them in 3D anymore. So that kind of defeated the purpose. But hey, it was still cool. And it made me really appreciate having a good camera on a smartphone. I don't think I cared all that much about the iPhone camera because I still had my iPod Touch that I used for recording video and audio because I wanted to keep the devices separate up until I think it was after Apple discontinued the iPod Touch or yeah, it was I think it was in 2022 that I finally just embraced using my phone because by then I got the iPhone 13 Pro Max and I realized just how good iPhone cameras can be. So basically, they've evolved into much higher resolution cameras compared to my 3DS that I can use to watch the videos I would watch on my iPod Nano and iPod Touch, to take videos like what I would take on my iPod Nano, to take photos like I would on my iPod Touch, and then and more so my 3DS. Okay, I can't take them in 3D, but so what? It's not like there's really a lot of opportunities to view them in 3D anyway. And the best part is it all fits in my pocket a lot more conveniently than a 3DS, a flip phone, and an iPod Touch. So my current phone is about it's thinner than the 3DS. It's way bulkier than the iPod Touch and more capable than the cell phone, so I have access to the internet pretty much anywhere I go. And I have to say it's pretty amazing how far it's come and that I do my best to appreciate what it lets me do, like what I'm doing right now with this. Yeah, those were the good times. Though I still managed to have the I guess I can safely say I still have the spark of creativity or enthusiasm for capturing photos like I did with my 3DS. So on that note, I'm going to leave it here for the video. Comment down below personal electronics you had over the years, especially if you're older and you had older ones that you can talk about. Give this video a like. subscribe for daily videos, and I will see you soon.